I'm always hiding my thumb because it's so short and wide and looks so different from the rest of my fingers. Not anymore, because we're about to do transformation with nail extensions and choosing the proper nail shape. And we will do a cute nail art with new collection by Modelones. Hello guys, I'm Anastasia, international nail expert and educator. Today I have a client with a clubbed thumb, and there are definitely different ways to fix that visually, and that's exactly what we are about to do. So let's start with the prep and push back the cuticles with orange wood stick. This client has rather thin and sensitive cuticles, which means I will be extra careful when pushing them back, and before I proceed with the regular service of dry manicure, I will use a safety on a clean bead first so I can push them back, and then I switch to diamond flame-shaped bead. Some of her nails are broken and much shorter than the others, so we are definitely doing extensions because we want almond shape. I filed off the free edge on the nails that were longer so we can have them all short, and with 180 grit file I'm taking off the surface shine, so the nails will be matte and we will have a better adhesion. And finally I'm trimming the cuticle so we can have a nice clean look and get rid of some dead tissue. Let's take a look at this new collection by Modelones I just received. It's called Unicorn Bliss. It includes 6 colors of gel polishes. Each one is 7 milliliters. There is a little window on each bottle so you can see through the actual color. It also includes manual and a small orange wood stick. Shimmer gel polishes with medium thick consistency. Wow, that's exactly what I need for the idea of the design I'm about to do today. I like that they included 2 bright colors in this collection, pink and purple, and the rest of them are more like pastels. And they all have this beautiful shimmery look. Let's proceed with the nail prep and apply dehydrator and non-acid primer. Whenever I'm working with thin nails, I usually apply the primer all the way to the cuticle, and it's very important to not apply too much. Actually, the less primer you will apply, the better adhesion you will have. And of course, make sure that you're not touching the surrounding skin. We're going to do almond-shaped nails, and I will use soft gel tips by Modelones to do extensions. And before we proceed, we also need to apply a thin coat of base coat and cure it for 30 seconds in LED. Base coat application is very important too. If you're applying it before overlay, it's a bit different. You actually can apply it a little thicker. But if you're doing extensions, especially soft gel tips, you need to apply it as thin as possible, because we need it only for better adhesion, and any additional volume will not be helpful at all. Let's apply the tips using gel glue. I will leave a little gap near the cuticle because later I'm going to fill it in with a builder gel. Just like that, within few minutes we have beautiful long almond nails. But what about the thumb? The biggest size of the tip, 0, is not really fitting. The nail is still slightly bigger. We are going to do sculptured nails. Luckily, we have all the products for it. So we need to do the same kind of nail prep, apply dehydrator, let dry, non-acid primer, and I decided to use acrylic to do extensions, so we will not need a base coat. Just apply non-acid primer and then we proceed with the application. I will use a regular form, which in my opinion is the best option for any kind of non-standard nails. The design we are going to do requires clear background, so I will be using clear acrylic by Modelones too to create almond-shaped nails. When working with the clubbed thumbs, I do not recommend making them shorter than the rest of them because this is how you will make them stand out. Also, with almond shape, we can actually afford ourselves to make it slightly longer. And by longer, I don't mean that we need to make it like ridiculously long, of course not, but here's the deal. On the thumbs, we usually have nails, and we do sculptured nails that are slightly longer than the rest of them. So we just need to follow this rule, so this thumb will look just like a regular one. I'm trying to imitate the shape that we have on the soft gel tips, which is almond and slightly pointed, so it will look exactly like the rest of them. Whenever you're working with any kind of wide nails, there's always a temptation to make the sidewalls super thin and to not cover the natural sidewalls, but don't ever make these mistakes because these kind of nails are not going to be durable. So make sure that the product, whether it's acrylic, gel, or even the tip, will cover the nail from one side to the other. One more small bead in the center because it still looks a little flat, and since we have a short nail bed, the apex will be located a little higher than it normally is on the area of the natural nail bed. Once I see that I have enough product in all the areas, I just smooth it out with a brush, because with clear products sometimes it's tricky, you may not notice some areas. And since I'm a lazy nail tech, I will be using old scissors to trim this extra part of the fringe, and now we have almost perfect surface of the nail. We applied tips with the margin near the cuticle, and I'm going to file it down with the carbide bead and green abrasive mark so it will be all super smooth and I can add a builder gel. Using this technique allows us to create a super thin and seamless area near the cuticle. Even when the nails will start to grow out, it will be impossible to tell that the extensions were done with soft gel tips. But don't overdo it. You need to file only the tip. Avoid touching the natural nail, because if you do with carbide bead, you may create a deep ridge, and we definitely do not want any natural nail damage. Don't forget to check the sidewalls area too, not just the cuticle on top. It all needs to be smooth, so you will not be able to tell where's the tip and where's the nail. We don't need to do this thing on the thumb since we have acrylic here instead of the tip, so I will mostly need to file and shape the nails to make sure that we have perfectly aligned symmetrical sidewalls as well as the shape, and it matches with the rest of the nails. Even if you did an amazing job with product application with acrylic and it's super smooth and you don't really need any fixes there, you still need to file it on top to make it smooth, because the surface will be slightly grainy and it will not be super comfortable when applying the color. So you can use 180 grit file or a buffer, it's up to you. Just make sure it's super smooth, especially near the cuticle area. We're done with all the filing and shaping, and now we only need to use a builder gel to fill in this area near the cuticle. And I recommend you to not just fill it in, but also to apply builder gel on the entire nail, so we have a smooth surface and I will not need to buff or file it again. We can proceed right to the color application. This is one of the ways to do it. First, I apply a thin coat with the brush from the bottle, and I'm not curing it yet. Then I take a little drop with a detailer brush and place it near the cuticle. The consistency is rather thick, so the product is not running right away in the cuticle area or to the sidewall, so I have enough time to place it where I want it to be and make sure that it flows perfectly into the structure of the nail, so this area will be 100% seamless. Time to do the fun part, the nail art. We decided to use this ivory golden white color. It's really hard to come up with the names of these colors because they have multiple shades in them. First, we apply a thin coat. This will be like our background, the base, and cure it. And then we're going to apply the second coat and add a little extra gel polish on the top and use plastic wrap and crumple it with an orange wood stick, so we will have this beautiful texture on top. These gel polishes are so good for this kind of technique too, because they are rather thick, they're not too runny, so when doing this you will not need to worry that the product will go too close to the cuticle. However, when doing the second coat, remember I added a little bit of additional product in the center. Make sure that you will not add it too close to the cuticle to avoid overflowing. And also don't do this to the sidewalls because we don't really want to mess up the shape. Try to make these crumples different each time, but what am I saying? I mean, they are going to be different each time, of course, because it's just not possible to replicate the same pattern even if you're going to try it. So once you are happy with the pattern that you have, you need to cure or at least freeze cure for about 10 to 15 seconds in LED lamp to make sure that it is going to stay in place. And then we will need to fully cure for at least 1 minute, because this layer will be a little thicker than a normal layer. Just to be sure that this extra layer of the product will be fully cured, leave it for at least 1 or even 2 minutes in LED lamp. When doing this design, I do not recommend you to do a few nails in a row without curing them. Even though we have a thick consistency of gel polishes, the plastic wrap still can move a little bit, sometimes too close to the skin. And also, once you see the pattern that you like, it's really better to freeze cure it right away and then proceed. So that's why we're doing 1 by 1 nail. Finally, let's decorate the thumb, and you need to cure it separately. I'm always giving this advice on my channel because I noticed whenever I have a new client or model, when I tell them that, hey, you need to cure your thumb separately in the lamp, most of them are surprised because they're saying no one ever told them that. When they went to the salon, they were just curing the entire hand, which is okay if you're applying base coat or some thin coat. But when doing color application or top coat or sculptured product, there's always a high chance of some product flowing to the side of the nail, which is going to mess up the structure and the shape. After curing, we get rid of the plastic wrap. Sometimes it may be a little tricky to remove it if you have too many folds, which is fine. We can use a small scissors to cut it. And then I decided to use this blue purplish pink color, which is just amazing, to cover these crumples. Then we decided to not limit ourselves to just one color and took this beautiful green and added also in some of these folds. Just make sure that they cover all the folds, because later we will need a little bit of filing and buffing, and we don't want any dips or holes in our design. So make sure that you cover it completely. This is one of those designs where you need to trust the process, because whenever you're applying it like this, it looks a little weird at this point, right? By the way, I kind of like the look without the color on the top too. I mean, it looks pretty. So if you prefer it this way, you can simply use a builder gel and encapsulate, seal it from the top, and then seal with the top coat, and this design by itself will also look great. I think this design looks the best when you're using chameleon color on the top, because it has multiple shades in it. So whenever this color is slightly thicker, it's deeper, it's more like purple and pink. And whenever it's thinner, we can see through the background color. You can combine any color from this collection with each other because they look great together. So it's up to you. If you want something more bright and with more contrast, I recommend you to take, let's say, light background and a darker color on the top. But if you want to make it more pastel, more seamless, then you can also pick 2 light colors and they're going to look so pretty together. When adding the second color, we decided to do this green again. You don't need to worry about blending it too much because they perfectly blend just by themselves, so you don't really need to work on that ombre too much. I'm so in love with this purplish blue pink color because it literally combines all of my favorite shades, and I actually have some idea with a similar design, so let's see, maybe I'm going to try it later too. Let's decorate the thumb. Almost forgot, I didn't tell you. So when you're using this plastic wrap on top of the nail, also try to avoid doing too much volume near the cuticle area because we want it to remain thin, and the same thing goes to the sidewalls. So the most volume we can do is in the center of the nail. That way you will not mess up the structure or the shape of the nail, and you will not need to do that much filing and buffing afterwards. After adding the color on top, make sure that you cure it for 1 to 2 minutes. And I kind of like it already the way it looks. And we could leave it if you're okay with the textured surface of the nail, but we are going to make it look like it textured, but in reality it is going to be perfectly smooth. That's why we take off the sticky layer and proceed with the filing. Mostly we just need to file off the highest points in the center of the nail. You can use 180 grit file or buffer. By the way, if you get too carried away, sometimes it happens, and realize that you have too much volume after removing the saran wrap, then you can slightly file and buff it before applying the color, so you will avoid too much extra filing at this point. And finally, let's seal it with a glossy top coat. Oh my god, it looks so pretty. Now all of these folds are showing up and this design looks so 3D. But remember, I told you that I'm so in love with this blue color, and I was kind of sad that we cannot see too much of it. So of course I couldn't just go to sleep that night before trying it. So I thought, what if we do it slightly differently, so I will get to enjoy more of this blue color. So this is what I decided to do. I did the same thing, applied one coat and cured it, and then I applied the second coat, but this time it is going to be rather thin, not as thick as it was in the first version of this design. Also, when folding the wrap, I will try to make it thinner and not as high, because the goal is to make a similar design but much thinner this time. Then I cure it in LED for 1 minute, carefully take it off, and if I see some areas that are too high, it's better to get rid of them right away. And then I'm using this, my favorite color, and apply it on top. So whenever we have deeper folds, we get to enjoy this color more. I also make sure that it is going to fill in all these bumps, all these areas, because this is how we get to see more of this beautiful pink shift. But we still need to have a perfect and smooth structure of the nail. That's why whenever you are doing designs like this, make sure that you always take a look from the side view to see the nail, and it shouldn't be too bumpy. Even though normally I don't mind a little texture on top of my nails, this time I still want to make it super smooth. It kind of looks like marble already. I really hope that the idea I have in my head now is going to work. Let's cure it for 1 minute, and unfortunately it's not possible to completely eliminate all the filing and shaping because we still have 2 areas where the product is too high. So I take off the sticky layer, and then I will use the buffer and be extra careful to file them off, because I really want to keep as much as possible of this beautiful blue color. Then we need to wash the hands to get rid of all the dust, and let's seal it with a glossy top coat. Oh my god, looks like it worked! I love this version of the design. You can find the link to the Unicorn Bliss kit by Modelones in the description box as usual. Let me know which version of this design do you like the most, where we have more white and yellow color showing up, or with more blue and pink. Let me know in the comments.